Let's keep it simple. Any chance that the clubs will say, you know what, we're not going to bother with this FIFA World Cup club thing?
No, the clubs are going to go with it because, like I said to the Maheta, the club owners have said nothing because the club owners see it as an absolute, jackpot money spinner because the money's going to be huge. So no, it's going to go ahead, and I think that's the problem. It's an issue now because, as you mentioned at the start, the last FIFA World Cup qualifiers are on June the 10th next summer, and the Club World Cup starts on June the 15th. So there's not much of a break there. I think 5 days.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'd go on strike if I had to listen to that fella again.
Well, people may say the same about you, Craig, to be fair.
Well,
there we are.
Not exactly the most...
Serious interview. Frank, as a player, how do you handle this situation?
Well, you like to play football, so you will never complain about that. It's only the top player maybe can say something because they have the power for that, but the others, let's say for the League One, the 15 teams who are above the fifth seats in the table, they would never complain because they only have one game a week. It's only the team and players who are involved internationally with the Champions League, with the FIFA World Cup, whatever, who are going to complain. But I have a question then. I'm not sure they have more games than we used to have. I'm not sure it's more physical than it used to be because we weren't really protected by the referees and it was more violent at our time. But we didn't go in a preseason to any tournament, overseas. So yeah, it's nice for American fans to see those teams. Yeah, it's great. But I would love to see one Premier League team not going there and fighting for the title without traveling, with no time difference, no jet lag. I would love to see that because it's a lot of money for the club and it's not ruled by the FIFA, I guess. It's only ruled by, I don't know, it's internal. I don't know how it works, but those teams who comes to America, they come back and a week after they start the Premier League. That's a real question. It never happened in our days. We never complained about jet lags. We only went to Hong Kong at the end of the season, but not before. So I had only 10 to 15 days holidays per year playing for Chelsea. I never complained about that. It was nice. I played football.
No, but this is ridiculous. You have this end of season, and then you have this big, needless tournament that has been expanded in June into July. That's when you would have already started pre-season. So then you come off this tournament, probably give you a few days. Then you've got to go and do some pre-season training again because, I don't know how fit you'll be after these games, how much you'll play, but you still have to have a pre-season before the regular season. Somebody has to tell me when these players are going to have a rest.
Yeah. To Frank's point about teams coming to the US or the Far East or wherever it is for pre-season tours, well, that's true. I'm not challenging that at all. Preseason games are preseason games. You can make 11 changes at halftime and nobody bat an eyelid. You could come with a whole new team.
Play the kids.
You could play the kids. I mean, but for you would expect with the Club World Cup, as you would have with World Cup qualifiers, you have your squad, you're trying to win it, so those players so your best players are going to be playing significant minutes all summer long. And that is just unsustainable. Especially when you look at Rodri, you look at Carvajal, players who played in the Spanish national team and the injuries that they've now come down with, you worry that is going to become more the norm, that more players who are playing at the highest level with club and country suffer these kinds of fates. Nobody wants to see that, and I think that's detrimental for the game. At some point, common sense has to prevail, whether it's limit the games and limit revenue as a result, but you can't just keep putting games on top of games because it means more money.
Unless I've missed something. Do you know who I've not heard complaining about it? Ownership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ownership.
Well, of course.
Chief executives, because they're getting a pile of cash and that's going to, affect their balance sheet in a positive way. But what it's going to do is affect their assets in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because of the injuries that players are going to get, because of the fatigue. I mean, it's just utterly ridiculous. We're already in a scenario where, for years now, the games have been getting more and more, and it's been obvious to see, without even players current players complaining. It has been obvious to see there are too many games now, and the rest has been shortened. And FIFA go then and organise this almost month-long Club World Cup. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. And they've let Inter Miami into it. That's the other thing. How can you take it serious? Into Miami? We jumped the gun there. Yeah. I mean,
they won the Supporters' Shield, Craig Burley. How dare you?
Jordi Alba says...
Right, Mark, just to wrap this up, Frank makes a good point. You can understand, if you're a big club and you're playing in the Champions League, and then obviously you're playing in this tournament as well, why you think you're overworked. But if you're a club mid-table, what is the motivation for a player to strike? And surely that has to be taken into consideration, because surely it's the collective of football members, not just the big boys, who would decide whether or not to strike. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I put that to Maheta because that is a good point. Why would the guy who plays in League One or League Two that earns £1,000 a week with a wife and 2 kids and a mortgage to pay, why would he want to strike in favour of the multimillionaires who are playing in glamorous competitions that they would love to play in? And the point he made was that because ultimately, when there is so much football, that the TV companies and the money's going to go to the top end. It's going to. And he said, look, the FA Cup this season, they've stopped replays. So by taking replays away from clubs in the lower leagues, they're missing out on the prospects of a trip to Old Trafford, a trip to Anfield, a trip to the Emirates to get that £1 million payday, which sustains the club for a couple of years. So his point was that lower down the food chain, these players are going to find that their income and their jobs are jeopardised by the fact that the money's just going further to the top. The big competitions, I think Ligue 1's lost its TV deal this year. So what he's saying is that the bigger the competitions and the more glamorous they are, that's where the money's going to go. And further down the chain, the players at the lower levels are going to see that money drying up. So their career will be affected. But on a day-to-day basis, if I'm playing for Accrington Stanley and I've got, like I say, got bills to pay, I'm not going to want to strike in favour of a guy that plays for Man United and Man City. But the long term is that it will affect them as well.
Just because they won't strike doesn't make it right at the other end.
No, but that's the problem.
But that people have this perception that because somebody maybe earns two or 300 or 500,000 a week, whatever it is, astronomical, that they should play these games.
Right.
I think there is a mindset out there that,
From some.
which is wrong. I mean, it is wrong. Just because you're getting paid that doesn't mean you should be, made to go out and play all these extra games. That's not the way it works. It's ridiculous.